As we know, Miata is always the answer. These little cars have won the hearts of many people because these are excellent weekend cars, excellent corner carvers, and even though they're small, I will still say they're good road trippers as well. Because the whole world has told you how good this car is, I'm gonna take advantage of that and just show you how good it is. And of course, we'll also be taking a look at the ins and outs of this thing, but we'll also be going on a field trip to Western Maryland and also West Virginia, taking the top down, getting on some back roads. But before we lose some daylight, let's get started, shall we? So how's the weather up there? Welcome to the new Miata. Again, this one is the RF, so it's not like the normal soft top Miata, but this ND generation Miata was released for the 2017 model year. And of course, over the years, it was given refreshes, 2 to be exact, the ND2 and also the ND3 like this one. The differences aren't huge, except I will say on Reddit, a lot of Miata purists will say that it's a completely different car, but Mazda says that they revised the steering rack, they upgraded some of the tech inside, so we have a slightly bigger screen. There's also a track mode for the stability control. Most importantly, and something that we'll definitely have fun with today, is the enhanced limited slip rear differential. They also say that they enhanced the engine sound and they've been pumping it into the speakers. However, I don't hear anything different. This one isn't the track-ready club model, but we'll still have a good time today. As you can see in full, this is a more touring spec Miata. This is a 2024 Miata RF in aero gray with the tan leather interior. It is definitely a more mundane spec, so personally I would get a Miata RF Club with the Brembo brakes, the Recaro seats. That's the proper driver's Miata, but this one is definitely for more comfort. As it's sitting right next to me, this thing is sitting at just under $39,000. Even though this GT trim isn't necessarily for me, Mazda does load this little car with a lot of stuff. This Grand Touring model was given things like automatic headlights, rain-sensing wipers, more comfortable leather seats inside. It also still gets the Bilstein suspension that you get on the Club model as well. But overall, this trim is certainly softer than others. I will also say this car is a chick magnet. I think in the almost week I've been driving this car, 4 different girls have come up to me to compliment this car. So I think this car is more for you than me. Mazda offers this ND3 Miata in many different variations. First of all, of course, this one is the RF. That one starts at $37,000 like this Grand Touring. Then there's the Club, which is definitely the more performance-oriented Miata RF. If the RF is too expensive for you, Mazda still offers the regular soft top Miata as well, and that one starts at about $29,000. But you could also get a soft top Miata to $40,000 as well. In terms of the running gear for this car, things stay business as usual for the ND3. Of course, a few years ago, power was bumped up from 155 horsepower to 181, so we do have a little bit more power, but we still don't have that Mazda Speed Miata that we were hoping for. Oh, I already popped the hood. Under the hood of all ND3s will be this 2-liter dual overhead cam inline 4-cylinder. Of course, it's naturally aspirated. And again, semi-recently, horsepower was bumped up to 181, and this thing has 151 pound-feet of torque. Both of those power figures come in at the top of the power band, so to get any power out of this engine, you have to put some effort into it. That does make this pretty fun to drive though, especially with the 6-speed manual that this thing has. However, you can get an automatic Miata. So far in the mountains, this thing has been very willing to power through any hill that I tackle. And while doing that, I've been getting 28 mpg in this near week that I've been driving this car. And Mazda rates this at 26 in the city, 34 on the highway, and a combined rating of 29. As you can see, this little guy is small, sitting at just about 154 inches long. It's 13 inches shorter than the current Subaru BRZ or Toyota 86. The biggest difference between the normal Miata, which I would get, and this one, which is still good, is the hard top. I just like the practicality of the soft top, being able to just flick it open and flick it closed in parking lots, but I know you don't need it while you're moving. This top does let you do it while you're moving, but you have to be under 6 miles an hour, which is practically stopped. However, it does take little to no time to go up and down. And I'll also say during this week with this car, the looks of the hardtop have definitely grown on me, because at first I was definitely more biased to the soft top. I still am, but this is better. As for wheels, because this one is the Grand Touring trim, it's sitting on these 17-inch alloy wheels. They're more touring themed than the sporty BBS wheels of the club. We do all have to commend Mazda for keeping this car small though, because the original NA Miata is actually an inch longer than this car. 155 inches long. Of course, the NA Miata will feel substantially smaller as you drive it and also when you park them next to each other, but it's nice. It's still small. I gotta be frank about this car though. It's kind of annoyed me, and it's not inherently the car's fault because, as you know me, I drive big SUVs all the time. Last week I had the new GX. I was totally spoiled by driving that thing every day, having cup holders galore, space, everything. And then I went to driving this every day, which has been very fun because it's a little car, but as you would expect, trunk space has been quite the compromise for me. You only get 4.5 cubic feet of volume. I can fit my backpack, my camera bag, and my tripod in here, and then maybe a second camera bag, and then that's really it. So as you would expect, this car really is just for two people. Me and you. Another thing that's been a slight bother to me, and again, I expected it because it's a Miata, storage, the lack thereof. So, getting inside, of course, this thing is pretty low because it's a little car. That isn't really a problem though. You just feel like you're getting into a race car. It really has a cockpit-like experience once you sit in here. First of all, this is the key fob for these current Mazdas. It's, you know, the Volvo-looking key. You have the lock, unlock, trunk release, and panic button. But we can get started now. This has push button start. So all you have to do is just keep this anywhere inside the car, put your foot on the clutch and the brake, and press the start button to go. So welcome to the interior of the new ND3 Miata. Things are very similar to the previous ND and ND2 Miata. The biggest thing that you'll notice is this new infotainment screen. Now it's 8.8 inches and it features Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both wired and wireless, thankfully. So connectivity is a strong suit in this car. You know, the Bose sound system in this sounds good. No complaints on my behalf. Thankfully, this Grand Touring model has had everything in a Miata that I would, well, more than anything in a Miata than I would expect, you know? Especially considering that this is a manual transmission vehicle, I'm glad that Mazda has put creature comforts in this more high trim one. I know it is pricey, but if you're looking for a little car that's very fun to drive, but you know, if this is like your daily driver, and you want things like heated seats and automatic climate control, it's actually quite nice. The seats in this are very comfortable. They're not like the Recaros, but they still hold me. Hopefully you can hear me over the wind noise, but it's actually a nice driving experience when you're driving this more normally. You can just throw it in 6th gear. The Bilsteins ride very nice on all types of road surfaces. Even bumpy roads, these shock absorbers really take bumps well. It's shocking for a little car. I know it's punny, but it's actually quite good. There is more body roll than I would like, just because the car is stock. If I own this car, I already would know the things I'd do. First thing I'd probably do are aftermarket, like thicker sway bars to eliminate that little body roll. But of course, the Miata is always very planted. The clutch is very nice as well, very easy. This is a very easy car to drive. Easy to learn stick on as well. It has a nice mechanical feeling, but at the same time, it doesn't feel cheap. Of course, this thing won't ride nice and sweet like an E-Class convertible or a 4 Series convertible, but it actually is pretty good for being a little car like this. I like the steering wheel. It's 3-spoked and leather wrapped. It's not heated in this model, but there are buttons on it. The only buttons that we do have, before you guys probably won't hear me, I'll let the car speak. It's very fun, as you can see. It really gets up to speed quickly. The Miata isn't slow. A lot of people will say this thing is slow. I mean, and it's not fast. But it certainly isn't slow. 5.5 seconds to 60. Even the non-Brembo brakes have great bite and response. It's really good. It holds the road. You can feel the rear end pivot. Even if you're not making the rear end slip at all, you can still feel the rear LSD working. It just makes the rear end of the car feel way more solid, much more planted. It's a very good feeling. As you would expect, track mode allows a little bit more wheel spin. I think it turns off the traction control, but it allows the stability control to still reel the car in so you don't completely mess up. This also has a technology called kinetic posture control, which helps this thing through corners as well. Mazda says that it's supposed to limit how this thing pitches and rolls through corners. This is a road in West Virginia called Dry Fork Road. Wow, FJ Cruiser. It is a tight road, and there's a lot of people that go off-roading around here. Unfortunately, you can already see there's a shocking amount of traffic. I have the top down now for a bit. So I did have to put the top up again because it's just way too loud to have the top down and talk to you. Otherwise, I'd have the top down if I was just by myself. But you can see it's actually very playful. This thing really just eats any corner. As you would expect, Miatas take the road very well. And again, the ND3 Miata has a revised steering rack. Has a revised steering rack, so it's a little quicker. That's crazy. And also, of course, a few years ago, the engine was given a little bit more power. I mean, I haven't really driven the the original ND Miata that much, so I'm not exactly sure how different the steering rack feels and all. I have driven the ND2 though, but it's a barely noticeable difference to me. I just know that other people, they say it's a night and day difference between the ND2 and the ND3. To me, I don't know. It just handles really well regardless. It's an absolute little demon, especially on little back roads like this. It feels plenty quick. Of course, you can have things that are quicker than this, but that's like when you get into the territory of really something that could kill you. This car, I mean, of course, if you're going really quickly, it's crazy that this is a two-way road. The brakes are thankfully very good. It's very confidence-inspiring around corners. It feels great. I do notice, compared to the soft-top Miata, this hard-top Miata is a little bit softer. Just like, I notice a little bit more body roll. It's also because the last Miata I drove was the Club, so that had better suspension. But this one is actually very good. Once you get used to the infinitesimal amount of body roll, then it becomes very comfortable. Wow. Something new about this ND3 as well is that Mazda added a track mode to the stability and traction control system. I don't want to turn that off because freaking look at what's next to me here. Whoa, that's crazy. Wow. Wow. And then look to your left if you can see. It's crazy. Because this car is a convertible, you'll notice that the top will rattle. It does make more noise. There's a wind noise is more evident, especially on the highway. It's very noisy. It's just something with the soft top, hard top experience. Of course, if you get a more substantial convertible, like a Mercedes or BMW convertible, it'll be quieter and feel more dense. But this is a proper driver's car, so it's actually quite good in that respect. I don't have any complaints. Now that we're back home, this concludes our time with this little car. I enjoyed my week with it. About 2 years ago, I had the ND3 Miata, and again, I enjoyed that one as well. I will say though, I'm not the specific Miata buyer. I'm used to my SUVs and all, but if you're looking for something that's small like this, fun like this, and you want to drive it every day, this is certainly for you. I would buy one just as a weekend car. This is too small to have as my only car. The trunk is too small, the lack of cup holders is frustrating. In a practicality standpoint, it annoys me. Otherwise, it's a very joyful little car. I won't ramble too much. Let me know in the comments if you have the new ND3 or the ND2 or the original ND Miata. But I appreciate you watching through this far, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe for many more videos of me rambling just like this, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye peeps.